Blake Chadwick.
Oh, Benji.
Look who's calling.
Is this a spite call?
Are you feeling spiteful today? I feel like you are feeling spiteful today.
I think you know I'm feeling spiteful today.
When I was earlier thinking I got to message Blake, see if we're still doing it. I was like, oh, he's gonna be like real salty. I could just like
I'm sure you were licking your chops.
I'm like, do I go and just talk about what I had planned on talking about? Or do I get Salty Blake in here and just throw him a book of matches and watch the world burn?
Well, I don't know if I'm ready to burn it all down quite yet, but
yeah.
Maybe we can throw a little salt in the wound.
I mean, I don't know how. I don't want to get detailed. We'll just say that like you lost a booking today, and it's always irksome, obviously, but
yeah. Definitely not really looking to talk too much about that right now.
No. But you know,
but certainly, it's obviously we're Seinfeld people, so I guess it's my version of Death Blow.
That's a funny analogy there. Yeah, I mean, you know, there are some bookings that are more important and you look forward to more than others, especially when you
absolutely
have been doing them regularly, and this was one of those. And you know, maybe we'll just leave it at that. And
I mean, there's a multitude of factors, fun, experience, and you know, of course, the finance aspects. So.
Right. You get nothing and like it now, my friend. You get nothing and like it.
I know.
So I made this observation as it was happening. And I just figured, let's start this off real easy.
Okay.
And say, maybe ask you to kind of try and explain to people. We'll get in and out of this really quick. Just go.
Okay.
Bear with me for a second.
By the way, for the record, everyone listening, absolutely no idea where he's going.
Okay. Yeah. Right. You don't. Can you explain, like in a succinct way, what Weekend Jackie was?
Oh my. Oh my. The funny thing is, Weekend Jackie is sort of like the inverse of an actual weekend. Because Weekend Jackie was basically 5 days a week. The weekend, like the 2 days off, is when he wasn't Weekend Jackie.
Well, I would say, okay, so we haven't really described what it is. Our dearly departed friend Jackie used to go on these drinking stretches,
tirades, rants.
Well, it was all part of it. It was like he would drink all weekend. I feel like it would begin in the weekend, and then because it didn't stop at the weekend, Tuesday you would say, we still have Weekend Jackie.
Usually, like there's a Wednesday, potentially Thursday window of nothing really going on.
I feel like it just depends on the sports calendar with that.
Right. Like, obviously, right now, Thursday Night Football, probably right back in the mix.
I don't think he watches games a lot of... I don't think he's into sports that aren't Miami sports. I feel like he was rarely in our conversations on a Thursday night or a Saturday night game unless the Dolphins were involved.
Or it's like championship or something.
Right. So my feeling is I think the origins of it were that he would start drinking on the weekend, and his internet presence and his increased because he was all sauced up and he was feeling his oats and
you'd have to include late night calls, late night texts, posts, rants.
Yeah, it was this whole thing where as the weekend progressed, he was jabbing with people online. He was because he was up all hours doing this. Because he was like, it would just go for like, I don't think he slept for stretches of like 2 or 3 days. He would just be drinking, and if he wasn't actually watching the game or something, he would be jawing with someone online or calling someone. And we have there was other cast and characters of people that
well,
were.
I mean, you'd have situations
that would get
where,
roped in, like West Coast people, or like Paul was a drinker, so he'd be up with Jackie till 3 in the morning.
Or you'd have situations where you'd wake up with like 100 notifications and say, "Why is Jackie feuding with this former WCW star?"
Right. And it all
how did he just get into some how did he just get into some back and forth? Like the next thing you know, Johnny the Bull wanting to kill Jackie.
Right. Or Ahmed Johnson was me, but yeah, there's.
Well, that was a hero thing, wasn't it?
It was me and Chris Hero. I think we both feuded with Ahmed Johnson.
Right.
But it was brief. It was it was a scuffle. It wasn't like a full feud.
Right.
But there would be like times where like Jack and again during football season was the biggest part of it because you would have Canes games on Saturday and Dolphins games on Sunday, and sometimes he would lose his Canes bet and be trying to double or nothing with someone or do another bet with someone else to try and recover, his losses
as you and I both know, I mean, right now, we're just getting into October, just into the second month of football. We're just kind of reaching that quarter pole of the season. The Dolphins at 3-1, obviously coming off of a loss, but looking very good. I mean, they look like the best.
How much money would he have lost on this last
on the Bills game? Yes, absolutely.
Well, not the Bills game. They pulled that out, but the. But
he would have thrown a ton on that game.
Oh yeah, and then he would have been flush with cash and confidence and whatever, and then that fourth game, man, he would.
And then you got to factor in the Bengals. I mean, that's your Jim Wilson crew, Josh Sneed, all like those guys. So he would have been like betting even more.
Yeah. Yep, and at halftime, or I forget when Tua actually got hurt.
It was like around that time.
I feel like he's the kind of person who would start trying to negotiate an exit strategy for these bad bets he now had that he was.
Oh, and with the concussion stuff, he would have gotten in 15 more fights.
Or people would have started getting on him, going, "Oh, you're fucked now," and he would have doubled down, going, "I believe in Teddy Bridgewater. Teddy Bear's going to get us through this." I could see either scenario.
And then he would start posting pictures of Teddy in his Boynton Beach High uniform and all that stuff.
Right.
South Florida legend and this and that.
He would have mushed it much quicker than it actually went. Before the interception.
100%.
So the reason I bring this up was that we had observed this phenomenon where I think we just had this tremendous stretch of time where we were like, would Jack have even stopped drinking? And it was, I think, the Hurricanes played, then the Dolphins played, and then there was another Dolphins game.
Or in like a pay-per-view.
That Thursday. So we were like, would he have stopped because the Dolphins had won? I think he celebratorily drinks longer. And would he have stretched that all the way till Thursday, Sunday to Thursday? Because that's
all valid questions.
And then I thought, like, my God, could you even have imagined if the Canes had not had the week off? Right. And then they were playing Thursday to Saturday.
Or if they didn't lose to Middle Tennessee.
Well, I think I think Canes losing creates more drinking, and then Dolphins winning is also more drinking. It's just my logic here. I don't know. I think he was wired strangely that way.
I agree.
Yeah. So I just thought, like, it's a shame he's not around, so that we could have seen, like, because we would have secretly on the side all been placing bets. How long is this going to go? Is he going to go to the next Dolphins game? Because it's not Sunday to Sunday; it's Sunday to Thursday. What are we?
Right.
I think we would have all been laying side bets on that. I think it would have been.
Oh, there have been some heavy side betting.
Oh shit! It's so funny that we miss him for the spectacle.
Oh yeah, I mean, it was a very uncomfortable and terrible occurrence, but but you go back to Abandonment Monday, and it's it's an all-time story now.
Well, Abandonment Mondays when we left him in Orlando for being basically drunk the entire time we were in Orlando from like Thursday through Sunday, and it was basically like living with it was like being with him the full stretch of a weekend Jackie.
Right, and then obviously trying to fight me and the whole deal and whatever. And yeah.
But my point, but that's all in a microcosm because we see some of that stuff. That's like every time there was a weekend Jackie, sometimes he would fight with us, but other times it was great because he'd be fighting with someone and we could just sit back and
observe.
Watch.
Right, absolutely.
So, yeah. So sometimes you'd, like you said, there'd be a feud with Vito or with Johnny the Bull or God knows who, Luke and Hurricane and all these people. Or he'd have unfriended half of us. So it was a very exciting roll of the dice every weekend, or almost every weekend, I guess. What are you doing? Where are you going?
I just got in the car.
My God, this is like I feel like I'm podcasting with Anthony here.
I mean, listen, man's got to eat.
What'd you get?
Yeah, I mean, Anthony's probably picking up the pizza. I'm picking up the Publix.
Oh, okay. Healthy or no?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to make some dinner.
Oh, okay. Oh, someone's cooking. What a catch you are. You cook.
Yeah, I do. I'm absolutely petrified about cooking for women, but I do cook. Because like if I fuck it up, like I'll eat it. I don't care. But like, I mean, how do I present that to someone else?
Right. I listen. It's the effort. It's supposed to be the effort that counts, right? That's what Mom always said.
I will say the last time I did cook for a woman, I mean, at this point, it was like, I don't know, maybe 6 months ago or so, but I nailed it. Like, it was one of these things, like, I have no idea how it worked out, but like, it was cooked perfectly, plated perfectly. I was like in a complete zone.
This all sounds absolutely ridiculous to me.
Oh, it was ridiculous. Because for one, I thought the whole purpose of what we were doing, it was going to be, we were going to like make it together, like kind of like a date thing. Ugh. And the next thing I know, it's like, oh yeah, you cook it. Like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah. That's how my roommate and his girlfriend were, the theory behind them getting those like Blue Apron deals was
right. It's like a combo gimmick.
It'd be like a cook it together, but I'd be sitting on the couch watching TV, watching the operation in there, and it was like herding cats. He kept trying to sneak off to let her fucking do everything.
Right.
And then she'd have to like bring him back, and then she was like making him do stuff. But because he's like a total fucking like retard when it comes to like anything in the kitchen, she's overseeing them, which means like not only is she doing like her quote half, but she's overseeing his half, which is even more time consuming than just doing it all yourself.
And I'm sure his half was like cutting stuff up.
It was like wash this and cut this.
Exactly.
And God forbid it was watch this and make sure it doesn't burn.
Right.
Next thing you know, the smoke alarm's going off.
I had one of those deals about a year ago. I was looking in my living room or my kitchen, and I was my ex-girlfriend was making something, and the next thing I know, I see flames.
Yeah. Well, luckily it's a rental, right?
Luckily it's a rental, and it was able to be quickly put out. But yeah, that was something else.
Yeah, I just bought a 3-pack of fire alarms for my new place. I never thought there'd be a day where I was buying fire alarms for a place. I just never.
Yeah, and I mean, and then the shitty part is like, what happens when it goes off? And it's like you have to deal with it.
Yeah, it's like I don't just walk out and I just don't walk out and wait for the fire truck to come. I have to try and put this out because this is my place now.
I was gonna say it's yours. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, this is the new thing. I have an issue with a leak out of a window now, and I'm like, fuck, I gotta fucking deal with this. This is all new territory, and I hate it already. And I haven't even officially moved in there yet.
Welcome to homeownership.
Yeah, thank you. So what I wanted to try today is I want to get into a little bit of nuts and bolts with what you do. Because I think people would be like kind of curious. Like, I'm gonna try and ask like the common sense questions about like what's involved with like I first of all, when people ask what do you do, like other than your shoot job, like your what do you call it, your the job you want to be your shoot job, the announcing gig, but sometimes you do
in the dream, brother.
But sometimes you do commentary and interviews. Is it always?
Yeah.
Is it always? I'm an announcer, or
I'd like to refer to myself as like a sports broadcaster.
Okay.
I consider myself first and foremost a commentator, and that's usually the position I try to angle for. But being able to do basically anything, I mean, that's gotten me a lot of opportunity. I mean, when I first went out to Vegas for Paragon Pro Wrestling back in 2015, that was as a ring announcer. And at that time, I had primarily just been doing commentary. I hadn't really done a lot of ring announcing for a couple of years, but the fact that I was able to do it and I guess had enough of a presentation that they liked for TV that I was able to get the spot. Right. I did the first thing I was on NBC Sports 2 years ago, almost to the day, for XFC MMA. And I was doing the post-fight interviews. I mean, you and I both know that's not my main thing, but obviously I was able to do it well enough for them to say, okay, this can work on TV, and then, move forward from there. Right. So I always try to, my strength, my ultimate strength, I feel, is commentary, which I always try to find a place to get that in. But, again, it's kind of gig by gig, position by position, company by company, whatever it might be, to where I try to find the best spot for me in that opportunity.
I feel like if you're like, at least when I'm watching some of these things like wrestling or whatever, that commentary will also kind of double into the interview stuff, but the announce guy's like the announce guy.
Typically, yeah. I mean, there's times where, and it might be because it's, what I do and the fact that I can do it. Like, I've had plenty of situations where I've announced the winner for an MMA fight, and for time constraints or whatever it is, they just have me quickly interview the guy that won.
Right.
When I am the cage announcer as opposed to the commentator.
And I'm sure there's also times where the promotion just doesn't have the money to hire the people to do.
Right. Yes. So you're pulling kind of double duty, whatever it might be. Yeah. So right. Yeah, those are definitely situations that pop up. Typically when I am the ring announcer, I do just the ring announcing. But again, and as the commentator, a lot of times I am just doing commentary. But sometimes there's a special need for an in-ring interview or whatever it might be, and that's where I'm able to step in.
Are you? I see you post pictures doing the MMA stuff. Are you mostly announcing there?
Yeah, MMA, most of the time I'm doing the ring announcing. I have, over the last, probably 15 months or so, broken into the commentary aspect, had the opportunity to call a bunch of fights around the country, but, I'd love to do more.
How many promotions are you doing with MMA?
Let's see. Right now with MMA, let me see if I can even really quantify. I'd say right now I'm probably working with about 5. Yeah. 4 or 5.
Semi-regular, regular, I guess, depending on what
yeah, there's one company I'm working with that runs a handful of states. Elite Fight Night. They run the Midwest and kind of like the Smoky Mountain area. Then here in Florida, I work with XFN, Extreme Fighting Nation. That's my home company. That's where I started. Probably the more high-profile one that I work with regularly is Titan FC down here in Miami, which is on Fight Pass. And I've been working with Combat Night some down here, but Combat Night's pretty much all over Florida, Jacksonville, Orlando, Fort Lauderdale, Tallahassee. I mean, they're kind of all over the place. So, and then our buddy Israel, who has been running kind of regularly, he's got a fight coming up in a few weeks. And then in January, we'll actually be at the Hard Rock. So that should be a pretty good one.
Is he have a what's the name of his promotion?
Israel, he under his banner, it's like kind of co-promoted, like Ring Rentals of South Florida and the Action Fight League, AFL.
Okay.
Yeah, they've promoted a handful of fights I've done. Some of them have been at the Hard Rock. they were supposed to over the last couple of years with COVID and stuff. There's been a couple of false starts at the Hard Rock with some promotions, but this one, I mean, yeah, looks to be set to go in late January. I think it's a Friday night. So yeah, I mean, hopefully that works out, and I get to work on the guitar.
I feel like that's cool. I feel like COVID was a perfect out for certain promotions to just be like, all right, we can use this to stop running. You know, like you know.
Well, you definitely saw a lot of promotions go by the wayside during COVID. Most of those have not popped back up again. Obviously, depends on, various situations. Some of them were legitimate and, obviously just that downtime kind of screwed them over. And there's other ones that probably should have just been buying tickets anyway.
Right. Wrestling and MMA, I guess.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The one thing about MMA is at least, when you're looking at, I guess, a lesser promotion, it still has a little bit of a bigger feel than your low-level indie promotion in wrestling.
What's the pay difference? Or is there
a lot?
I mean, are you working in a big range just in MMA alone? Or is it kind of all relatively?
Like for a baseline local MMA event compared to like a baseline local wrestling event, like let's just use CCW as the best example. I mean, I'm making like 3 times as much in MMA.
Right.
Like if not more.
Right. I mean, I think ticket sales are much higher, or at least the ticket prices are higher.
Well, the prices are higher. You have more sponsorship situations. You have a lot of people buy those ringside tables, which are huge money makers.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, in terms of wrestling, the revenue is obviously not really there. I mean, how are you going to make money? I mean, you sell tickets. The merch is mostly going to the talent anyway. It depends on the venue. They might have a split with food and beverage and things like that. But, yeah, I mean, overall, I mean, it's not a situation where you're looking at, really a lot of opportunity for income with the wrestling.
Right. Well, I know that when we sat down with the War Memorial originally to do a wrestling show, when all's said and done, the building itself's costing you like $10,000. And with 2,000 or whatever seats that are at 2,500, I don't know, 2,000 to 2,500, that selling price for a local wrestling show, you're not making much money at all if you sell out. And I know that when I went for an MMA show, I knew tickets were like way more expensive. Like, maybe the best seats were like $100 to $150.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm going to an MMA show, I'm expecting to probably spend between $40 and $50 minimum.
Right. I don't know if I think the only thing I don't like about MMA shows, especially local ones, maybe like in the bigger like buildings with UFC and stuff like that, it's different. But on the local shows, those places like really taper off and clear out by the end because you just have huge chunks that are there for somebody.
Specific fighters, right? And so, I mean, a lot of times I'll do an MMA card. Let's say there's like 12 to 15 fights on the card. Those first 2 or 3 fights, a lot of times, I mean, it's a lighthouse, brother.
Yeah, but then even at the end, it's like you'll see whole sections get up after a fight. Because
I mean, unfortunately, the crowd just doesn't stay for the main event. But also a lot of times, especially on the amateur level, but also, on the pro level as well, you'll see a lot of situations where they'll put the high ticket sellers in the main event spots.
Right.
So, like for instance, I did a card last weekend.
kind of like wrestling.
In a way. I did a card last weekend up in West Palm Beach. Wasn't a huge card. Didn't have a lot of like big names on it or anything. Attendance was average, and the main event it was a title fight, but it wasn't.
Is all this stuff televised or internet?
Yeah, it's streamed. A lot of it's either streamed on like Fight TV or Flow Combat.
Right.
But yeah, so they had a title fight. It was actually a Muay Thai title fight. And for Muay Thai to be in the main event, I felt that was a little, like, different, I guess. But also, when I got in there and I announced the guys and you saw the people still there and they were loud as shit, you knew it's because those are the guys that sold tickets.
Right. That makes sense.
So I think the best way to prevent the main event from, still having people there.
Right.
Or prevent them from not having people there.
I mean, not that, though when you watch, I mean, I guess crowd noise is one thing, but when you're watching an MMA show, you can't see past the fifth row anyways, really.
Oh, from an at-home perspective, right. Absolutely.
Yeah, so it's probably not great when all those seats are empty, but you would think that those seats cost the most money, so people would stick around. But who knows?
Yeah, certainly. Certainly.
So when you get booked for a show, what's the process? Like I think that's something people would probably find interesting, because it's like, are you? I mean, I guess at your level, you're getting the calls, right? You're not.
It's mixed.
Yeah.
I mean, and I hate to say this because, I mean, obviously I don't look at myself as a replacement replacement level talent, but a lot of times, I mean, I'll get a call to fill in for someone.
Right.
There will be a situation where a guy's not available or something's going on, and so then they call me, and then I go in, I fill in, and I do the job. I do still reach out to places. I still try to do my best to network, just in general. But overall, yeah, I mean, people are reaching out to me. I mean, unfortunately, a lot of times, and, you certainly understand this, where, they'll try to do things thinking that they can do it for less money.
Right.
Well,
a lot of these, like, obviously local things that you drive to, it's a different story. But when they're flying you out, they're already, I mean, I get it. They're laying out an extra plane ticket, and I guess they're putting you up somewhere for the night.
Yeah, that's typically how it works.
Yeah. I mean, they're not, but they give you your own room, right? They're not like you guys got to stay together. It's not like that level of fucking bullshit. Is it?
I've had mixed.
Even
there's
for
been
the
times
MMA,
where there's been times where I've like done stuff at like casinos and I have like my own room and like taken care of,
Right.
Then there's other times where it's like, maybe they stick me with someone else, but I'm also only sleeping for like 4 hours or something. Like I'm not really even in the room.
Right, because those things end kind of late, and then you're probably flying right out.
Yeah, I mean, typically a lot of these events I do out of state, I'm gone for pretty much like 24 hours. I'm leaving at like 6 or so in the morning, and I'm getting back at like 10 something at night or the next morning.
So how did what do you do about like do they Uber you places, or do you or
it's
do they have
it's like
someone that picks you up, or what?
Yeah, it's kind of like wrestling where like someone will be like a runner.
Yeah.
Like in the car. I mean, I've had to Uber before, but it's rare.
Yeah, I didn't know if they had like drivers and stuff like that.
I mean, one of my favorite ones was for Ring Warriors out in Vegas, when I get the text from Howard saying like, you have to Uber, I'll reimburse you. Those are always fun.
I mean, I guess if the funny thing would be if you just hang out long enough to see who else shows up and see if he sent a driver for them.
Right. Well, I knew he did it because I was with Larry.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if you're with his partner and he's saying you gotta Uber, I guess that's
because we both flew from Fort Lauderdale, so right. I knew that it wasn't bullshit, but I was also like, here we go again.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that's typically the process. It's kind of a mix of me reaching out and, them reaching out. I mean, listen, obviously we don't have to get into like extreme detail here, but, the biggest company reached out to me. I didn't really reach out to them.
Right.
So, I mean, that's,
So you're traveling, like it looks like most weeks you're traveling somewhere, even if it's like sort of local, Florida's, I guess technically is local, but it's a big fucking state. You could still be driving to like Tampa or Orlando or somewhere.
Yeah,
To
I mean, I
hit the
haven't
halls,
had
so.
a tremendous amount of stuff in like the Tampa, Orlando area. I mean, I have done a couple of things there over the last few months.
No, but I mean, you're if you're not doing there, you're flying places and whatever. What's it?
Yeah, no, I'm pretty busy. I mean, I'm staying booked just about every weekend. And I mean, the crazy part is, I'm sure I've said this before, but like, I would love one time to just look at everything that's been canceled. And then, like, if I could just make a schedule from the canceled stuff, I'd feel like I probably had a good schedule.
You mean the bookings canceled, or like the plane got canceled?
No, like the booking.
How many bookings have you gotten screwed on with a plane fiasco?
You mean like where it got delayed or something, or
like you like the flight wasn't gonna make it. You were gonna have to wait for another plane later, and so you weren't gonna be there in time for the show.
So knock on wood, the only time that I can recall really having any kind of...
You there? You're glitching on me.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you now.
It was like mid-September of 2018. And
so like I keep hearing about all these flight disasters, and my roommate keeps having like flight problems.
Huss, I'd love to know what Huss is dealing with, because I mean, I don't know if it's, I mean, he does fly a little more often than I do, probably.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, it's one of these things where when Dave and I, Gangrel, were heading to Portland, Oregon,
right,
and our plane had some sort of fuel issue and had to emergency land in Salt Lake City. And we ended up getting like super delayed to the point where we didn't end up getting to Portland until like 10, or like I think we didn't leave till the next morning. Like we ended up landing at like noon or so. And the tapings, I want to say they'd start at like 1:00.
Right.
So I literally went to the venue and just sat down and did TV. Like I missed, I want to say like 3 or 4 matches.
I mean, and then, time to get dressed, or you just sat down in your flying clothes?
Oh no, I got dressed, but I mean there's no production meetings. I mean I was literally being fed stuff in my ear, like it was not ideal whatsoever. But thankfully, I've not been in a situation where I've like fully missed an event.
But you've had some nightmares, I'm sure, getting there.
Yeah, I mean, in my I guess earlier flying days,
give me a good one.
Like I definitely didn't have my shit together as much as I do now.
Okay.
And my in the same vein as your roommate with the time management.
Yeah.
And
bro, you should see. Every fucking time I'm like, he's flying out in the fucking morning, like before I'm getting up, so like right. I'm not driving him or anything like that. And it's like 4 a.m, and he's like doing laundry and packing.
That's amazing.
And I'm like, you got to be up in 3 hours to fucking go to the airport. What are you doing? At
this point, I feel like it's a given,
bro. And 1 or 2 times when I've driven him to the airport, I mean, I'm not far from the airport. It's a straight shot down the highway, but
right.
But I'm close enough where if I'm picking someone up, I say just let me know when you've landed, and then I casually just get dressed and
right, and you can do the Costanza perfect pickup.
Yeah, right. I just swing in and they're out there waiting. But twice I've had to like, because he's so frantically doing it last minute and then getting like 2 hours sleep and whatever. So I've had to U-turn to get so he could go back and get his like passport or his ID or whatever. It's like what are you doing, man? What are you doing? You're 40-year-old grown man. Like, come on. So
right.
So you were telling me how I'm shocked you're being accountable on this. Like you're not blaming someone else. So. Oh
yeah, no. I mean, it's 100% on me. Like yeah. I would like make food before I left, but wouldn't give myself enough time. Like I would be rushing. Whatever.
You're like OJ running through the airport.
Right. So there was one time where I don't remember why I like had cut it this close, but I had got to the airport I mean, we're probably, at this point, we were maybe like 75 minutes away from the flight. And I had just arrived to, and now, when I say I had 75 minutes, I drove. So I'm parking. I wasn't being dropped off. You know, I wasn't just able to walk in. Like, I had to park and get in. So
what's that financial hit these days? Leaving your car at the airport.
I think it's 15 a day.
Oh, that's not the end of the world.
It's really not that bad, and the way Uber is these days, it's almost worth it to just drive.
Yeah.
So what happened was, I go there, and the garage, it indicates there's like numerous free spaces. Like there's a bunch of green ones. Like it says there's X amount of free spaces on every floor, whatever. So I'm driving up and down the floors and the rows and whatever, and there's nothing free. Like there's no empty spots. Like I literally go all the way up to the top, and it's covered. And I have no idea why it's so packed. Then I start freaking out because obviously when we're talking pro wrestling and we're talking work, whatever, and we're talking flights, if I miss a flight and it's not because of like the airplane, I'm probably fired.
Right.
Like I'm not coming back. I mean, it would take probably a lot for me to get over that kind of thing. So I'm like freaking out that I'm going to lose my spot. And then I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to make this flight with this traffic or like, you know, with the parking. So I said, you know what? Fuck this shit. I'm going to valet. And I valeted my car, ran in there, and ended up getting into I walked up to the gate as they were boarding.
It's like royalty, valeting and just swagger in.
Now the valet will set you back about 50 bills.
Yeah. But you had to do what you had to do, man.
So that was like about a 3-day trip, basically, pay-wise. But the good part is, you know, I was going to Portland, a little bit of a higher payday, not like the end of the world, but, you know, I got pretty good pay. So, yeah, I mean, I thankfully had the money.
Portland sounded like one of those deals that was a good gig for everyone until it disappeared.
Yeah, it was a great gig. Good pay, you know, solid talents, good exposure, good footage, you know.
Good donuts.
Got to hang with our buddy Drexel all the time.
Yeah. Oh, so then it got even better.
Yeah, I mean, literally, because Drexel, you know, wrestling, like he lives down the street but can't work there because there's heat.
Right.
So, like, Drexel would come, like, after the show, pick me up. We would go hang out, get some food, whatever, and then he would take me to the airport.
Oh, that's awesome. Did you see what he's doing? Like, I don't know what weekend it is, but did you see the death match he's booked in?
Is he wrestling the Jackass guy?
Yeah, Danger Aaron from Jackass.
Okay, I saw that the Jackass guy was wrestling a death match. I did not see that it was his opponent.
That's Drexel, man. I guess he's the go-to guy now. He got that exposure working that non-binary kid, whatever their name was.
Kid Bandit.
Yeah. When they did it was like a hardcore match, but he was doing some kind of like cosplay gimmick that, you know.
Well, and he got that exposure a few years ago working. I don't know. It was a South American country.
What, when they all went to Peru?
No, remember he was like, I don't remember what country it was, but he was like working. It was like called Luchando or something.
Yeah, that was in Peru, I think.
Oh, I thought it was like El Salvador or something like that.
I was like him and like that guy Scotty Mack from Canada.
Yes.
The one that married Christina Von Eerie and
yes.
I don't remember who else, but yeah, that was years.
That was probably like 2016ish.
That was way closer to when he left Florida than now. You know.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, he's like, God, I don't know how old he is. Mid-40s, maybe?
I was going to say, he's got to be creeping up to that big number.
Yeah, and he's just like nonstop and kind of getting, I mean, you know, more well-known. I guess at least
The crazy
for
part.
this
The crazy part is, it seemed like he was close to done.
Well, when he was here, for sure, no one was booking him.
Well, not even that. Just like even talking to him, like it seemed like he wasn't really gonna be pushing too hard.
Yeah, he just needed to change the scenery. When he went back to Portland, it all changed.
Right.
Plus, that was like his promotion, wasn't it? That DOA. Didn't he start?
DOA. Important.
Didn't he start that? I don't know if he like came back and was actually part of.
Yeah, I mean, as far as I know, they still run.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know. I don't know if he's just like a wrestler there, or if he's part of the.
I was always under the impression he ran it.
Right, but he was down here for a while, so I don't know if he had like divested his whatever or.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a few local guys that run it.
Right.
Like I think what's his name was involved. Luther.
Maybe I never heard his name involved in it, other than maybe
Because-
being booked in a match there or something.
Because I'm pretty sure, I don't know, did he ever show you that vignette that they made several years ago that they had like sent to Impact and like Impact was going to use them and then it fell through or something?
No.
Yeah, it was like, I think Drexel and Luther, and they were going to be doing something potentially at Impact and it never worked out.
Yeah, no, I didn't see that. He must have showed you one of your visits.
Yeah, he did. He definitely did, but I didn't, I don't know. I know y'all communicate and stuff, and it's definitely not something I think
Not
he put
enough.
out there.
Not enough.
Like, I don't think he ever put it out there publicly, yeah, but it was like very well shot, and it looked like something that, could have been something, but who knows?
Well, that's wrestling. Everything's about to happen, and most of it doesn't. So.
Right.
So, then I guess let me ask you this: so you get booked these gigs, and they fly you out, they put you up, they drive you in. That's I mean, that's nice, and then you get paid to like do your work.
Well, and that's also not to delve too much into it, but the gig we were speaking about at the top of the show. I mean, I was treated to the nines with that one.
Right.
Like flight, rental car, like luxury hotel suite.
That's like one of those big events every year. It's like a yearly deal. So it's it's its own creature. But I was gonna say, you're unlike someone who has a match. I mean, I guess I get that it's more physical, but you're the one that's actually working all night. Especially if you're doing commentary.
Oh yeah, no, there's no breaks.
And they keep you after too, don't they?
I guess it depends on what the situation is.
Right. I know one show they kept you after and it created the famous expression "Blake down," which is when Blake has a breakdown.
I don't mind doing whatever, but let's use our time wisely.
Right. Well, let's put it this way. This I'm talking about is an old ICW show. It was back to basics for old George, who was the promoter, which meant that they no longer had a building. They were outside in a parking lot of it was like a school. Was that a school or was that his apartment? His apartment complex or something? It was like a church, right? Because it was something like that. And
there's like classrooms and stuff.
Yeah. Because I remember like walking down the hallway and there were framed pictures of people and stuff like that. So and of course it's like what was it like July height of?
No, it was actually April.
It was that early in the year. It had to have been like, I don't know, high 80s, low 90s. And
it was hot as shit.
And then with the blacktop reflecting all the heat and really no shade anywhere. It was so bad that like, I think the canvas was hot to the touch in the ring, the ropes, all that stuff. So guys didn't want to be, on the ropes or touching or on the mat for very long, because they were going to start scalding themselves. And so you're You're at least under a tent. You're doing commentary with what was his name? Why am I blanking on his name?
Good old Dick
Tingle. Dick Tingle, Richard Tingle, and they want you to start doing like after the whole show's done, they want you to like redo some audio or something.
No.
Or
what they wanted
cut
to do,
twos or something like that.
Yeah, they wanted to do all like the pre-tape stuff after the show when we had hours to do it before, and we had enough time to shoot it live.
Right.
Like in between the matches, I could have done all that stuff.
Right. And so it's 1,000 degrees. You're wearing a suit.
Right.
And they're trying to get you to do these things, and you're mentally, I'm sure, I would have been checked the fuck out. Like, all right, let's do this. Let's do it quick. Let's in and out. And
I'm very much over it. And then Dick Tingle is the worst.
What was he, screwing shit up? What was the deal? What do you mean by the worst? Or just he's
I did, like we were going to do a take. I'm like, welcome this week to ICW TV. We're gonna have da 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 and da da da, and then like I toss it to Richard, and he doesn't say anything, and he's just kind of standing there, and then, like that whole
I remember
the part
that
of where I'm like throw my hands up, and I'm like, what the hell? It's because Tingle doesn't say anything.
I think that would make those are the cuts that should have made it into whatever in YouTube garbage that ended up in. But I just remember standing there because we were all like just standing right out of like we were trying to stay in the shade, but we were all like watching this because we were waiting on you because we were gonna I guess hang out afterwards or something, and we were just we're all snickering with each other and enjoying it because we can watch you like starting to like bubble like percolate the rage and the frustration and the anger and like all of that, and we're like, oh my god, is he gonna like flip the fuck out or not? And we were again doing like side bets, prop bets, all that stuff, and then those kids, those like school volunteers, whatever who I never really figured out what con George was running for all these always have all these like kids doing like free work at his shows. I guess it was like,
I mean, unless it's literally one of these things where these kids love wrestling that much, and the idea of George saying like, hey, you know, come to a free show and help, like that's enough of a carrot.
Right. I think he was like offering extra credit at school or something like that. Cause I don't know where I feel like this was like we rented them from him for like, to do like audio video for like one of the first shows we tried to tape, and it was a disastrous clusterfuck because they're all students and they're like learning as they go, and it was like none of it.
It's kind of funny to me that George Portuondo is that carny that he's like working kids.
Yeah, like I mean I get it's kind of like work experience, you know, if they're like in audio video and they're like
sure,
you know, doing that stuff. But so some of them started like stacking those chairs up and making such a racket, and you just like lost your shit. Like,
yeah, I mean, listen, I'm all for obviously, you know, doing the work and whatever. But like, if we're clearly filming something, like you can wait 10 seconds until we're done so you don't ruin it.
Right. Instead, you just hear clattering of chair after chair they're kind of like throwing them on top of each other, and they're like. I don't know if they were the metal folding ones or if they were like those, like, or if they were the wood. I think they were the wood folding.
No, they were wood. They were wood.
They were the wood folding ones.
Like the balsa wood, like the Chris Benoit, Kevin Sullivan chairs.
I cannot believe how many like curse words you sent flying to those kids, and they were like obviously like kids. And I'm like, oh, he's cursing at like underage kids. This is good. And I think that was the last time you and George worked together. Now,
funny thought here. I mean, That was 2015.
That was also when Jesse left you, didn't he?
Jesse left me after I got him booked.
You got him booked. You drove him down also, right?
Because we worked Vintage the night before up in Orlando.
Uh-huh.
And at that time, Jesse and I had become like pretty good friends. So I reached out to George, and I was like, George, with Jesse Sorensen. He's available tomorrow. Would love to work your show. Can you do it for $100? And he was like, obviously, George marking out TNA Impact star Jesse Sorensen. So he goes ahead and books Jesse. So then I picked Jesse up at his house in Boynton he met me at my job so he can get in my car because he's coming from Boynton. And then I drove him down. And the next thing I know, Jesse left me.
Not even a message.
Not even a message.
Well, we saw how that turned out.
Yeah, unbelievable.
I don't think he's friends with anyone these days.
He's friends with no one. It's crazy.
I wonder how that marriage turned out.
Well, I actually think I had passed her Instagram page or something recently.
Well, look at you.
But it was something where like I'm not friends with her, so I think I could only see the profile picture.
Oh, right.
And I feel like he was in it, so I was like, all right, well, they're at least married.
Okay. Well, there you go. Yeah, he probably surrendered all of his rights. You know what I mean?
I would assume.
It felt like that kind of marriage. So, not to make this the shoot on Jesse show, but you know,
right.
I liked her. She was fun to hang out with. Him, he was never my cup of tea, to be honest with you.
See, that's the thing is like I feel like we got to become pretty good friends, but then I quickly realized he's the kind of guy like once you really can't do anything for him at the time, he's kind of over you.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of those in wrestling.
Yeah, because I'll tell you what, he certainly popped back in when he wanted to make a return, hitting me up. Hey man.
Hey, brother.
You think there's any room on Dave's show this weekend? I just want to do a run-in.
Like, yeah, no, man, we're all booked up.
Yeah, and I was like, no, you can't do a run-in, sorry.
Dave's still running shows?
Dave is, full-time trainer at CCW.
So no.
I mean, I'm sure you know about all the fallout with Craig Valentine.
I mean, I know that he and Craig had a fallout. I know that, like, I don't know details. Like,
yeah, this all went down about a year ago. Or no, about a year and a half ago at this point almost.
Yeah.
It was probably like May, June. It was like late May, early June.
I don't want you to give away anyone's, like, super secrets, but it looked to me like Craig had like this idea to put a school together, and he put the money up, and he did this, and then I feel like Craig rightfully was involved, but he was too involved.
Oh yeah,
and and he's the kind of partner that should be like probably not seen or heard most of the time. He's not a public. He's a terrible public face, I think, right. And you know, I don't know him very well, but from what I hear, like you probably don't want to hear him talking around like students' parents and things like that.
I mean, forgetting his past because I mean that's not the worst thing in the world, but you know,
I mean his nickname's Creepy.
Right, I was just thinking more of the fact that he'd done some porn.
Yeah, but I mean, like that's a technicality nowadays. Most people have something on their own phone of them doing something naked, which could be classified
and most
porn.
likely it's for purchase.
Oh, you're talking OnlyFans. I'm saying.
No. I know what you meant, but most people at this point, I mean, every Joe Schmo's got something up
but
there.
At least he had earned a living with it. You know what I mean?
Right.
So.
Right.
But I felt like that partnership was like very weighted or tilted, because I think like that he was the money guy, and that sometimes those guys start to push too much,
mm-hmm.
or whatever. I know he was like, I don't know that it was Gangrel that was out there licensing his image out for hot sauces and stuff.
No, it's one of these things where Dave's probably like, well, shit, I mean, if I can make some money, yeah, go ahead and do it.
Right. But he's not this is all, I think, Craig stuff, basically.
I believe so.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I just know that they had a split and it was not.
I just know that Dave and I had a little bit of a falling out in late April of last year, based on the fact that CCW wanted to start booking me. I hit up Dave and said, how do you feel about this? And he was kind of like, well, I mean, if you work there, you can't work here.
Right.
And I was kind of like, well, that's not really what I called you about, but okay. So yeah, he basically gave me the ultimatum. And at that point, I think this was like late April, and I had one like late May GW8 date at that point. And CCW, I mean, for the last year and a half, has been running like upwards of 6 dates a month.
Right.
So I was like, I'm going to take this date. I'm going to take CCW, especially because at the time, with COVID and whatnot, and listen, I have every reason to believe it was Craig and not Dave, and Dave was just kind of the messenger. But, I mean, they're trying to cut pay. I mean, they're basically just trying to run shows to run shows. And I was not really into that. So, went and did CCW. I was the heel for a month.
You're not there to get reps. You're not there to, you're not like a wrestling student. You're at the point where you need to be paid kind of fairly to do what you do. Otherwise, there are other gigs out there.
Right,
I mean,
exactly.
The favors go so far and friendship goes so far, but
well, that's the thing. I mean, I'm not trying to reveal paydays and that kind of stuff.
No,
but I mean, at that time,
that's what I assume.
At the time,
yeah.
I mean, I was working for Dave, especially on the student shows, for a price that I wouldn't work for anyone else for.
Right.
And
it sounds like SuperCon prices.
In a way, I mean, it kind of was.
Although at least I had a little more justification, is that literally that was every dollar I had, and you were so new that it. I felt like that was your schedule wasn't completely booked, and B, at least we could. No, I mean, at least we could feed you pizza and give you the opportunity to get laid every night.
Right, exactly, and at that point, the only thing I had done of any kind of substance was the initial Ring Warriors.
Right.
No, actually, at that time, I hadn't even done that yet. At that point, Ring Warriors didn't even start.
You had just done Anthony's stuff, I think.
Yeah, like Howard didn't even start the TV yet. So, yeah, I mean, I was just an announcer.
Right.
So, I mean, that's one of those situations where, I remember there was a show in late May last year. Everyone did the show. Then the next day they come to class. It was like Monday. It might have even been Memorial Day. And they all come to class, and the school is locked. Like Craig changed the locks.
Right. So him and Dave had a falling out. I don't know.
Right. Yeah, pretty much.
Do you know what? I mean, you don't have to tell me, but did he tell you what it was about? Or
I mean, there's financials involved.
At least his side of it,
I mean, and our buddy Mr. Cantu was involved as well. So,
yeah, but I think the irony to make this go full circle is that Dave gave you an ultimatum, CCW or my show.
Mm-hmm.
They had 6 bookings available in the next 6 weeks or whatever, and Dave had 1 on the calendar, so you went with them. And there's a little bit of
CCW paying me almost 3 times as much.
Right, they're paying you to make it worth your while, and make you feel like you're actually have a career. And then here we are. Dave's working for them as the trainer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean that's pretty full circle there.
Does that mean you guys are patched up, right? Everything's cool now.
Oh, I mean, him and I are as good as we've ever been. We're very close, very good. I mean, listen, he baby-faced it to me. He apologized, and I think also it's one of these things where to dig a layer deeper. When you're a guy like Dave Gangrel, been on the road for 30 plus years, been a major star all over the world. And then the world shuts down and you don't really know how you're going to work. I'd imagine you probably freak out a little bit.
Right.
So, I mean, he was probably thinking and acting and,
well,
being in ways that he's not.
Ideally, if you're that grizzled of a vet and you're still working every week all over the world, it's probably not because you've saved and invested wisely.
Well, and right. And, take nothing away from the vampire, but yeah, I mean, obviously he's not working. He loves the business, but he's working because he still needs to make a living. Right.
Bills don't stop, and there's COVID aside, just taking a few weeks off isn't gonna help anyone like that.
Right.
But I don't think he'd argue. The history's out there, the craziness with Luna and Israel. Dude, those black hearts in the early days, you think they saved a dime or knew how to invest in the stock market or whatever? Come on. It's so
right. Yeah, there's not much business acumen at that period.
No, and you're young and you feel like even when times are good, they're never going to go away. And when you're in the WWE,
right.
It's like you don't think that's going to end, et cetera, and then there you are, like, it's like, you didn't plan for the future, and so you got
100% because working. It's the kind of thing that can end at literally any time.
Right. So we kind of got off track. It always ends up going in the personal, but that's fine. Whatever. It's all good. I just needed to fill an hour with my friend Blake here.
Oh no, it wasn't too difficult.
No, it's easy. But we'll go back to your announcing and commentary for a second, then we'll get the fuck out of here. Who's the person you've had the most fun working with?
So in terms of color commentary, I mean, obviously Simon Says will always have like a special place because when I feel like I really broke out of like a local level and more onto like a statewide level and a national level, it was with my work at Ring Warriors. So that always will hold a special place in my mind. But my work out in Portland and in Vegas with West Coast Wrestling Connection and Paragon Pro Wrestling with Christian Cole, I think that's probably the best work I've done. Christian's tremendous talent. He's the ring announcer for Pro Wrestling Guerrilla, PWG, out in California. He's worked for Championship Wrestling from Hollywood. He used to do the bar wrestling stuff for Joey Ryan. He's an incredible talent. Unfortunately, he does manage too, and we're in a period of time where managers don't really exist. So,
except in AEW, where
except in AEW, where like there's a new one, and there's like a new one every week.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, Christian's somebody. He's done some ring announcing for Impact as well. Like he's someone that really should be on a higher level. But the way the cards have been dealt, unfortunately, he hasn't really gotten that opportunity. But I'd say Christian and I's work in like 2017, 18, that period in Portland, that was probably, in my mind, the closest you can find to what would sound like something that you're going to see on like WWE or AEW.
All right. Well, you went for the professional route. I was hoping you would say your time with Stevie Ray was the best time you ever had calling a match.
That was actually a lot of fun. I'm not going to lie. Like I had a ton of fun. I had a ton of fun with Stevie Ray.
I know. Let me tell you something. Jackie and I used to hang out with Stevie Ray at the bars at after WCW shows all the time. That dude was fucking phenomenal. He recognized us when we were bumped into him again, I think in New York, when he went in the Hall of Fame with Booker, and it was like, it was like, oh, good to see you. That guy was always a good time, and I always I enjoy his commentary better than his brother. I'll tell you that right now.
Yeah, which is pretty interesting also because the news came out today. Booker T's the new color commentator for NXT, at least for the next few months.
Yeah, that's weird.
It will be interesting to see how him and Vic mix, but I really love Stevie Ray's work at a very shitty time for WCW, that end of the Nitro era.
Listen, but nothing. I'll never forget the term fruit booty for as long as I live.
No, of course not. And the thing is, I don't know if he had just not done it for so long and just kind of like maybe lost a little muscle memory or what it was. I didn't really get any fruit booties or,
on like neck bone or any of those other Stevie
Right.
Ray kind of phrases. But I mean, he was pretty dialed in, and I think we were able to play off each other pretty well. Ironically, in the main event that night, Tessa Blanchard was supposed to wrestle and ended up having some sort of injury, I believe, and ended up being on commentary with us. And she was the worst.
I didn't know she worked with black people.
Well, the irony of this whole thing, Ben, is that was literally the same day that she made those comments to Rosa.
Really? Wow.
It was the same day. It was the same day.
Yeah. But
And
it's
and-
funny how
and-
when it's someone you know, like we both know Rosa, we both really like Rosa. Like,
yeah,
like
I mean,
that,
I almost knew her really well.
I probably still could, but that like for me, like I don't give Tessa a pass, because it's someone I knew, and also
Right.
like I know Rosa would never in a million years make that up. I
No.
I would vouch her side of the story till the cows came home.
But of course, known social justice warrior Miss Swole obviously was a big part of that as well.
Right, but the facts are the facts, and if
Sure.
if Rosa confirmed them, then that's all I need. I don't.
Right. No,
I'm
I agree.
done there. Tessa's a racist fucker. That's where I go after that, and you're not going to talk me out of it. So
Yeah, I mean, she's obviously had a difficult time since.
yeah, well, I mean, she's apparently a difficult person, so
Right.
difficult and disagreeable. Kind of like some other people that are floating around these days. Not you. I wasn't. So I feel like there's like a little bit of a full circle here since we did Weekend Jackie, and it's like kind of wrestling related and people you've worked with and et cetera, et cetera. How crazy was it about the Dan Masters thing?
Oh man, that was devastating. I was getting ready to go to work last week, and I was just over my sink, like washing something out before I left the house. And I had my phone propped up, and it was open to Facebook, and it like refreshed. And the first thing I see is a post from Chrissy Vane, longtime women's wrestler with Women of Wrestling Wow, husband Connor of the Ascension.
Yeah.
She has a post that says, "Rest in peace, Dan Masters." And I immediately was like, just like stomach punched. Like, what the hell is this even about?
Yeah,
What
when
are
I
you
saw,
talking about?
I don't remember whose post I saw, but I was like, someone must be misinformed. Like, I didn't hear of him being sick or.
Well, that's the thing. Like, so I excuse me, I knee-jerk commented on her post, like, what? Like, you got to be kidding me. So then I said, fuck it. I know Chrissy enough to, like, message her.
Right.
So I messaged her, and I was like, what happened? And she was like, don't say anything really because it's not public yet, obviously. Telephone, telegram, telewrestler.
Right.
So
believe me, the Howard Brody stuff had you in a fucking twist.
Yeah, right. But like this is something where like everyone I reached out to was like, yeah, I'm hearing ABC. And I'm like, well, that's what I heard too. So obviously it had gotten out there pretty quick, but she told me what happened and I was just absolutely devastated because one, Dan's a great guy.
He got hit by a car as a pedestrian, right?
Yes, that is the word I've got.
Down in South America.
In El Salvador.
Yeah.
And the sad part is...
And he was in a Jackie condition.
Right. And,
Right.
Listen, Dan's a great guy. Always loved Dan. But, he did have a tendency to be the life of the party.
Mm-hmm.
So, it does not surprise me that he was enjoying himself.
Right.
And the one thing I will
used to
say,
like
though,
his like skinny fat guy food posts.
Oh, yeah, those are great. But Dan was supposed to return, I believe, earlier that day to America. He had a
Right.
flight to Miami that I believe got canceled because of Hurricane Ian.
Oh, so he was stuck down there with nothing to do, but
So I would
Have a good
imagine he
time.
then kept, the party
Yeah.
moving. And I don't really know the gentleman he was with through another mutual friend that I was speaking with about the situation. They, I guess, were speaking with the guy who actually was with Dan that day.
right.
And, I feel terrible for this guy because he literally saw with his own eyes.
Right.
So, he saw the whole thing happen, in real time. And, Dan and I, this happened, sometime, I think, around, like September, I don't know, 25th or something like that, 6th. About a week before that, we were text messaging.
Yeah.
Listen, we mentioned Jackie. We're talking about Dan, Weekend Jackie, whatever. It was a late night text from Dan that says, like, he's like, guess whose birthday it is, playa, holla, 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 or something. Like, it was something like that. But that's like a typical thing because Dan and I had several conversations about Teddy because he had worked with Teddy. I was going to be working with Teddy in this promotion actually in Atlanta. So it was something where Dan and I actually almost worked together again recently. But yeah, I mean, I had a great time with Dan out in Vegas for Ring Warriors. It's actually pretty funny, ironic. I don't know how you want to put it, but I was looking the other day in my closet and I came across the Ring Warriors, I guess, uniform that we wore for TV.
Like the shirt with the logo knitted on it or something like that?
Yeah, exactly. And I had totally forgotten that
knitted,
Dan
embroidered. Jesus Christ, what's wrong with you?
That Dan took my shirt and wrote in the inside D Masters. And I remember being like, "What are you doing?"
That's
and I was like, "This is mine."
That's funny.
No, he like thought it was his, and I was like, "No, that's mine." So my shirt says like D Masters on the inside. So now I forever have the Ring Warriors shirt that has Dan's name in it.
Now it has meaning. Now it's
right.
Now it's important.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
so
like
that's
this can of Bud Light here that would have never meant anything except that it's the last can Jackie ever left at my place.
You should take it with you.
To where?
The new house.
Of course, you don't understand. Not only as am I taking it with me, it's my place. I am now going to build a display, and it's going to have a lit display on the wall. Are you kidding me?
Well, no, I figured there would probably be a back and forth with you and Huss.
No. There's no like shared custody of this thing. Jackie was my friend, okay?
Yes, absolutely, absolutely.
And you understand the wars to be friends with that guy for 20 years, the PTSD, the battle scars, the fucking war stories. I had earned that thing.
I was going to say, I had all that in like 4 years.
Right. So I'm saying to multiply that by 5, and you understand my situation.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. That's absolutely true there. No, that definitely rings true.
So I want to share one shared observation, and then we'll get the fuck out of here. You brought up Howard, and we brought up Jackie, and whatever. And I kind of like made fun of you a little bit for being like the gatekeeper when Howard passed away.
Yeah, I know.
Like people posting too soon or then tracking who. Do you have this thing that I have now where when someone passes away, like someone that's okay, not only are you like tracking everything, like who's commenting, who's making posts, what are they?
I feel like I'm Danielle Valente.
What are they posting? Is it enough? Is it inappropriate? Is it not enough? Like, you should be showing him more respect than this, et cetera, et cetera. Like I scour for like the next 3 days, maybe a week, to see who's posting, what are they posting, and like evaluating. I'm like evaluating. Like, this is the insanity of social media. Like,
That's amazing.
Were these pictures good enough? Was it like, yeah, you know what I mean?
Well, I will say there were several of us
who I'm tracking even on my post who liked, who hearted, who fucking commented. What did they comment? Why didn't this person say anything? Where is this person? Why haven't they even acknowledged it? Who's gonna tell Goldberg? Howard, et cetera, that type of shit.
But in relation to Howard,
yeah,
there was, a close friend of his. I don't care. He's never going to listen to the podcast anyway. But Fred Rubenstein, the referee, longtime referee.
Yeah.
I mean, he made like a kind of an inappropriate post, like kind of almost alluding to like Howard's like weight and like things that were unnecessary in a tribute post kind of thing. And I remember Larry and I talking about it and him being like, he's an ass, blah, blah, blah. So it's like that was like the one that really stood out that, was a little off.
Right. I feel like that happened in a different situation with Jackie. I feel like Luke made an angry post. like he was mad at Jackie for like stuff that like.
No, I think maybe during the time Jackie and I were feuding that happened.
No, I was when I think it was a post about when he passed. You know, because he basically was like, you know, we all know that Jackie drank himself to death. Okay, and I think he was like, I think that those guys over there were planning to do something about it, and they were just like too late. And I think that was all in their heads, and I think it was in Luke's. I mean, we could always ask Luke at some point, but I seem to remember vaguely, because it was 5 fucking years ago, and I can't remember where my socks are from yesterday, that he it was like it was like kind of like it just was tinged with frustration and anger, you know, when he posted about it, that he was like kind of like mad at Jackie for fucking doing this to himself, you know. And I felt like it was a little early to be saying that. It was like everyone, like it had just happened and everyone was like a little raw and like whatever. But his stood out to me because he was like, you know, he wasn't pulling any punches and he wasn't waiting. He was angry, you know, because his friend had fucking basically kind of killed himself. You know, and you know, he's been through that before, like with Canyon and stuff. So I think in a different set of circumstances, but you know,
no, that you can definitely see that.
Yeah. But yeah, so I feel like I don't know how it is with you. I feel like you're me times 5 when it comes to this.
Yeah, it's pretty shitty.
Like you just no, but I mean like you're even if you're not correcting people or slapping wrists, you're on top of it. You're watching it all. You're monitoring every post, comment, like, you know, all that stuff. And
by the way, I might get into it with Jim Varsalone right now.
Oh, why?
Because Jim Varsalone just made a post about Jimmy Smith leaving Raw.
Okay.
And he like writes a couple sentences that he goes, "It's not easy calling WWE, especially if not a fan and not following the action regularly. Has hired a couple his predecessors struggled, did help make Michael Cole look better at his job as a lead commentator. I just hope they hire someone like Ian Riccaboni or Joe Galli or Kevin Kelly or Josh Matthews, someone who knows and follows pro wrestling. Morrow was great.
He Josh Matthew'd you.
I was hopeful Cole would somehow retain him help during his time with the company. So I just commented, 'Hi, Jim, LOL.'"
I can't believe he leapfrogged some of those people over you.
Like, I mean, the fact that
a shit ass.
I mean, that's the kind of stuff that angers me.
Oh, of course. And he's just like, listen, we know he's just oblivious. You know what I mean? Like he's absolutely oblivious. It's like in the old days when he actually wrote a column on things. You're just like, my God, like I love Jim, but this is
I'm sending this to the thread. This is too good.
Indecipherable, you know?
Right.
I love Jim, but Jesus, he really does fucking step on his dick a lot.
I mean, that's ridiculous.
That's tremendous. That's send that thread. We're gonna go have a party over there. All right, bud. Thanks for doing this.
Thank you for having me on the Spitecast here.
Oh my God. I was thinking of doing a solo one and talking about all the spiteful things I've done recently. But
have you done some spiteful things?
I mean, you know, shit like when I know someone's following me for parking space, I'll take my time once I get in the car, kind of shit. Just like
I mean, that's
minor stuff. Or like I don't know if it's spiteful, but it feels a little like unnecessary to like unfriend people on their birthdays because that's when you realize you're still friends with them because it pops up that their birthday's today. And I'm like, oh, okay. Well, what better day to unfriend them than on their birthday? Happy birthday. Here's your gift. You know, that kind of shit. Nothing big. I haven't done anything big in a spiteful way in a while. I need to get back into it.
Absolutely.
You?
Oh, and no. Well, Ben, I was gonna say before we go.
Yeah.
Not that it's got like 96 vibes or anything, or 98 vibes or anything to it, but we got a pretty decent game coming up on Sunday.
Are we talking the Jets Dolphins?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's weird. It feels weird that we're still favored, but I guess it's here.
It's here. No, it's in New York, I believe.
Oh, I keep forgetting Teddy Bridgewater was a starter in this league.
Right, but I mean, listen, Dolphins at 3-1, off to a great start. Jets look a lot better. They don't look great, but they certainly look a lot better than they have in probably at least 5 years or more.
I mean, yeah, and you got your quarterback back. And
a 2-2. I mean, it's at least going to be a game.
Listen, you're not at the bottom of the division.
No, and again, it's only week 5, but hey, 3-1, 2-2.
Well, here's my see if any of this sounds right. I feel like you guys are on 7 days. We've had the extra rest. We're on 10 days, and I'm just curious. In 10 days, Mike McDaniel's knowing that Teddy Bear's going to be taking the start,
right?
What he's cooking up, because it's not going to be obviously he's not going to be calling the Tua plays for him now that he's
and you could certainly see the offense looked a little bit slower when Teddy got inserted on last Thursday night.
Yeah,
but with the week and a half
what's crazy
adjustments,
was Teddy was leading us to fucking win that game until that interception.
Yeah, I mean, I think with the week and a half adjustments, you're going to see some. I wouldn't be surprised if Mike Gesicki got more involved again, and I wouldn't be surprised if you saw more out of like Mostert and Edmonds.
If they can get the running game going, that'll help. But you're going to see different guys getting the ball because Teddy probably was throwing to different people when he was, taking the second string snaps.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it should be interesting. I'm totally scared shitless of him throwing a deep ball in the coverage, but
yeah, I mean, he probably won't, but
yeah, he did.
We'll see.
He did in the last game.
Right.
Oh shit. So yeah, I'm excited for it. We'll have to have a little. Listen, I don't want to mush, and you don't want to mush, but we're gonna have to have some shit talking.
Of course, naturally.
So, all right, brother. Let's go raise hell in the thread.
All right, my friend.
I'll talk to you later. Thank you.
Yeah.